Hello, and welcome to the first ever podcast episode of The Ramblers. Lovely to have you all listening today. I'm your host, Charlie Pearson. This is my lovely co-host, Sophie Nichols. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Sophie. Excited to start off our first episode.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah, would you like to take us through what our main topic is?
So today, the first half, we're going to be looking at democratisation of media and specifically focusing on the industries and how they'll be affected by democratisation, and about influencers. Are they the latest iteration of celebrities?
And then after that, we're going to go for a short break. And then when we return, we're going to have our guest, Mark Edwards, joining us. Lovely Mark Edwards. And he's going to be joining us for our game show, Read the Ramblers. And it is copyrighted.
And then in the final section, we are going to be talking about conspiracy theories. But we appreciate all your opinions, so please go check out our Instagram and
leave your own comments on what you think about the conspiracy theories. We'd love to hear them.
So, democratisation of media, just as an outline, is basically how our democracy, specifically in the UK, is essentially taking over media, I'd say.
Yeah, I'd say it's also the public's influence over media in this day and age as well.
Yeah, and because of the advancement in technology, you're able to create a lot more from your own phone, from home. Nowadays, anything's possible.
Yep.
So the main two topics we're going to be discussing within democratisation of media is how, as I said, industries are affected by it.
Should we start off with that one?
Yeah.
Yeah?
So.
Well, I myself am for these new style media outlets. So creating creative media from home, online news, everything like that. I don't particularly use old media outlets. I'd say I only use a few.
Where do you get your news from? Do you get that from your phone as well?
I do. BBC News is usually the main one.
Yeah. So that's interesting because obviously BBC is a production company that, even though we as a generation are evolving in terms of how media is shown, the BBC have seemed to stuck with it throughout the whole thing. I think they're someone who won't suffer.
I think they've been so successful because they've adapted with the times.
Yeah.
If we look back, we had the BBC on the radio, their news. Then we had them coming onto TV.
Yeah.
But now, this new generation, they don't really watch normal TV. It's more streaming services. So TV isn't really switched on. So
I've noticed when you watch a show on the BBC nowadays, after they say, "Oh, this is now streaming on BBC iPlayer," they never used to do that as much. So they are trying to keep with the times, which is interesting. Mm-hmm. But as you say, many people will view the news from their phone.
Yeah.
So you say you're for the new methods. Do you still appreciate the old methods?
I think they have their place in history.
Yeah.
And I think they should stick around. Like, I'll use print media for an example. Back in the legacy media time, it was everything printed out, newspapers, selling millions of copies, and that has obviously gone down quite significantly now. And a lot of print media companies have moved fully online to release their information to keep up with the times. So I prefer that. Because,
do you think people like journalists will struggle?
I think when it first started, and I think there was a lot more worry about it because they were a lot of people thought this is going to take over fully now. And we're going to be run out. I think it was viewed as a lot worse as it was, but I think people have started to adapt to it now. And journalists can still do their job because all this news is still on the TV, still released in papers, but articles are also released on newspaper sites.
It will start to decline, won't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
So I personally think that I'm for. I'm not against the rise of all this new media and the new method of consumption, but I think I am still very for quite old-fashioned, I suppose. I think a big budget, big companies, I think collaboration is such a big, important aspect to creating any media product. And I think that if we all go to creating content from home, even though we can because of the obviously technology, I still think it won't be created the same. It might not have the passion behind it as such, because there's a difference from working, I don't know, let's say within a news team and in meeting everyone and having all the equipment. I think there's something about the setup as well that excites me personally. And I feel like if everyone moves over to this new consumption and new way of creating things, they'll miss out on quite a lot. So, but I still think that people will, obviously it's rising for a reason.
Do you think, obviously we've just had 3 national lockdowns, over a year of a lot of people being stuck at home. Do you think, because obviously a lot of content has had to be created from home because of that, do you think people are now, as they've had to adapt to that style, do you think they're now going to stick with it, if that question makes sense, instead of go back to old media styles?
I think so. I think Staged is a good example. Again, a BBC production. They couldn't do a play they wanted to do, so they decided to just keep rehearsing it online, and they made a TV show out of it. I think that alone, yes, they had the equipment by the BBC, but they had to operate it all themselves. I think that is a perfect example of something that had to be made from home, and there's many people that are doing that now. There's so many like new influencers and people that have like randomly showed up over lockdown. I think the advantages of working from home and creating your own content from home, like if you're a YouTuber, for example, you can set your own schedules, it's cheap as well because you're not having to hire people, you're not having to travel, but it could also be expensive.
Yeah, I think that leads quite nicely into rise of the influencer.
Yeah.
So what's your sort of opinions on the influencers? Do you see them as proper celebrities, or is it more of someone that isn't a proper celebrity?
I mean, celebrity, I think people... Oh my God, this chair. I think people think the definition of a celebrity is like an actor or a music artist or a TV presenter, when actually a celebrity is just someone famous and well-known for a type of work. A lot of people, if you're a celebrity in the creative sector, you're much more well-known than you could be, I don't know, let's say you're the producer of the BBC, technically you are a celebrity, but you don't get recognised for that. So I think the rise of influencers is what people now associate with the latest iteration of celebrities, but I personally think that, yes, they are celebrities. And I think to become a celebrity, you succeed in your job. I think that's what's important to remember, and they have just succeeded in that career mainly because that's where all of our demographic, or like our new generation is leading towards. Yeah.
See, unlike when the last topic we were talking about, I was very for the new sort of media outlets. On this, I sound slightly more old-fashioned. I can see, influencers. I'm talking about like TikTok influencers, Instagram, like model celebrity things. I wouldn't class them as celebrities, but that's because I don't particularly like them. I don't use TikTok myself. Very against it.
Yeah, because there's you got the bloke that sung Ramen Tea or something
like that. You've got those.
I think
it's D'Amelio sisters that are all famous now or something from TikTok.
No, but I think TikTok, it's difficult because if they're successful through Instagram, which many people are influencers through mainly that platform, it's kind of like, well, why can't they be through TikTok as well? But TikTok's just, again, they've become successful in their job and what they want to do.
I think with this question, which is what I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments, it's all opinion based. So myself, I'm quite old fashioned. Instagram, like I said, Instagram celebrities and TikTok celebrities, all that stuff.
Although
I don't personally think they're celebrities, but I do know that they.
Why don't you think they're celebrities? Why?
I just think it's because I don't. Okay, so
what do you, who do you associate celebrity?
So the way I'm trying to word this is, I know that they're a celebrity because they have a lot of following.
It's a very high class word, isn't it? A celebrity. Yeah.
So I know that they are, but for myself, I don't see them as that. But that's because I don't follow them. I don't, actively. I'm not an active fan of them. So
that makes sense.
For myself, I wouldn't class them as that. Whereas I'm not quite fashion. Actors, directors, football players, all that stuff, I see as celebrities. But that's because that's what I'm interested in.
You follow
and
football.
I follow, exactly.
But I think to kind of conclude everything, you can tell why we're the Ramblers.
Yeah.
Going back to our first thing, I think the reason why industries may suffer is because the rise, our new generation wants to become YouTubers, streamers, influencers.
Yeah.
I think because of that,
streamers. That's a really good, like Twitch.
Yeah.
All of that stuff.
Yeah, that's
so many people
on the rise, isn't it?
And
well,
a lot of people don't do it. Yeah, there could be the aim to be successful, and obviously everyone wants that. But a lot of people, it's just a passion. Like, it's what they love doing.
And I think that's what makes it. I think that's why it's so
successful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's what everyone wants to do.
So do you think, if just going back to the first topic of challenging old media industries, do you think that's what it is then? People have more of a passion these days on these new outlets?
Now we can create it from home. People are like, I think before it was unreachable.
Yeah.
It was, you're at school, it's academic, businessy, and there's not much creative option. So I think before it was unreachable, but now it's like very accessible to get your hand. You can do it on your phone. Do you know what I mean? I think now we're able to do that. People are like, oh, I can actually do this. And I think that's why the more like the bigger companies will suffer, because less people will aspire to go to them when they can just. Why would you want to work your way up a ladder of like job roles in a company when you can just go straight to the directing role or the acting role in your own mini company? Yeah.
But and I will make one point against that. Even though I am for it myself, I can see what the negatives on that of, if you started a YouTube channel back in...
I think you mean it's acknowledged as well.
Yeah. If you started a YouTube channel back in, let's say 2012, not many people on the platform, it was up and coming. If you started one there, it's highly likely, or more likely than, well, definitely more likely than now, that your video is going to be seen easier. Not as much stuff. It's
like Zoella. She's become, how many subscribers? She's got loads of PewDiePie.
He's sitting like 70 mil,
PewDiePie as well.
Yeah. But as I've said, I do think many old media outlets are still adapting, and I think some can keep up the time. So I don't think radio is going to die out. A lot of people still listen to that in their cars, obviously. Television, a lot of
people like light-hearted stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's why things like Saturday Night TV or Place in the Sun or whatever will kind of...
It's going to be a constant. It might not be as successful as it once was, but it's going to be constant
but it's still
throughout.
Going to be there.
Yeah.
I just think in the future, I think, and I hate to say it, the companies will suffer in terms of money, not getting as many people, because it's our current generation that is in charge of the industry's future. And they're not interested, unless you're a film fanatic or want to get into radio. They're not passionate.
It's a very harsh industry now because they have to make sure they're hiring the right people, because
Yeah.
they have to make sure they get everything right now. I feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just think our new generation is following the streaming, the influencer, because it's easy money.
Yeah.
And that's why the companies will suffer as well, because you have to have certain experience and certain skills, and that's why they'll suffer.
Yeah. Well, do you know what? I think that's a really good place to stop off for our break.
Yeah, I agree. So join us after the break, where we'll be playing Read the Ramblers.
Again.
It's a new game for us too, so it'll be very interesting.
We will explain this, or I'll explain this when we come back. We'll have our amazing guest Mark joining us for it.
Is it my chair or is it...
It's definitely your chair.
Move. It's yours is the one squeaking. Here was me thinking it was me this whole time.
Hang on a minute, hang on. Sit still. Do yours. It is yours.
No, mine's squeaking. Yours was creaking.
Well, I'm
See?
sorry.
That was you.
Silent. Go on, do yours. Aha.